जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन जमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन जमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Jaya Radha Radhanat Radha Radhanat Radhe. Jaya Nithai Gaura Hari Nithai Gaura Hari Gaura Hari. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and welcome to today's Sunday morning program. We're going to be reading from Krishna book today, chapter 30, and it's entitled Krishna Disappears, from the Rasalila. So before we do that, we'll just recite some invocation prayers. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmenitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Svapadandikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha. Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priya. Panchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hey Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So, we're reading from Krishna book, chapter 30. So, devotees, this is a very esoteric topic. It's actually the crescendo of Krishna Leela. Now, this chapter, chapter 30, the preceding one, chapter 29, and the next three chapters up to chapter 33 are very esoteric, dealing with Rasalila. And many devotees, they express their hesitation to speak on such topics. And certainly, I'm not qualified to speak on those topics. So I humbly beg your blessings so that I can say something for my purification. Hare Krishna. So, as mentioned, these 5 chapters are very esoteric. Krishna's association with young girls and other people's wives can be very confusing and bewildering to people who have not understood the background. So, invariably, this can lead to confusion and difficulty and can be very daunting to someone who hasn't read Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the first 9 cantos. Krishna book is a summary of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, the 10th canto is described as Krishna's beautiful face. Now, we have to understand who Krishna is. Srimad Bhagavatam is described as the entire body of Krishna. And right in the very first canto, the speaker there, Sukadev Goswami, he's mentioning who Krishna is. He says, Ite kamsa kale pumsa Krishna stu Bhagavan Swayam. Sukadev mentions that all the various incarnations, he mentions them in stages, all the various incarnations that appear within this material world. And then he says clearly that these incarnations are portions and plenary portions, but Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? And then Brahma Samhita, it explains further, and there's a verse that says, Ramadi Muritishu Kaleniyamena Tistan Nanavataram Akrod Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Sambhavat Paramapumanyo Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Translation of that is, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna, and the different avatars in the world, in the form of Rama, Nrsimha, Vamana, etc., are his subjective portions. Now, in the purport, it is explained his subjective portions as avatars, namely Rama, etc., appear from Vaikuntha. And his own form, Krishna, manifests himself with Vraj. That means with Vrajabhumi, his own personal abode in this world from Goloka. The underlying sense is that Krishna Chaitanya, identical with Krishna himself, also brings about his appearance the direct manifestation of God himself. So Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. And with him, he is bringing his entire abode from Goloka Vrindavan. So Sukadev Goswami, right in the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, he's establishing who Krishna is. Ete chamsa kale pumsa Krishna stu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. And like we mentioned, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the body of the Supreme Lord. So the first two cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam are compared to the Lord's lotus feet. Canto 3 and 4 are compared to his legs. The fifth canto is compared to his navel. And the sixth canto is compared to his chest. The seventh and the eighth to his arms. And the ninth to his neck. The 10th to his beautiful face, which is the longest canto. Right? And the 11th to his forehead, and the 12th to his crown. Right? So in the first canto, Shukadev Goswami he's teaching us. The first canto we said was the lotus feet of the Lord. So he's teaching us to hold on to this lotus feet, because he's explaining exactly who Lord Krishna is, right? And who was Sukadev Goswami's audience? Who was his audience? The most exalted sages, like Sage Vyasadeva, Narad Muni, Sutta Goswami, who later spoke Srimad Bhagavatam to the sages of Naimisharanya. So he's speaking this to all of them. And we can see right from the beginning that he's very cautious about presenting the pastimes of Rasalila. And so we also have to be very cautious. So the 10th canto is the Lord's beautiful face. And these 5 chapters, that's chapter 29 to 33, is described to be the Lord's smile. Now, a smile in a person is the most charming part. When a person smiles, he looks most beautiful, right? So these pastimes are a treasury. They are the jewel in Krishna's pastimes. And we know that Krishna is Rasabihari. He is the king of rasa. Rasa, pastime. He is the king of rasa. And here, these Rasa Leela pastimes, he is showing us the ultimate standard of relishing. But of course, I'm not qualified to discuss those. So I will focus on Krishna's mercy on the gopis. So we see that every action that happens in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a reason. And when Krishna smiles, there is a reason. Only we have to understand the reason. And of course, there are hidden messages in Srimad Bhagavatam, and these can only be uncovered with purity of thoughts. When your thoughts are purified, there's purity of action. And then, when the senses are purified, then Srimad Bhagavatam reveals its different messages to us. And we can use those messages and apply them in our spiritual life. So basically, chapter 29, Krishna is wanting to engage in Rasa Leela, and he calls the gopis with his flute. And we can see in chapter 29, they engage in arguments. Krishna asks them, why did you all come in the middle of the night? And then there's counter arguments. And eventually, the Rasa Leela begins. And then the gopis start thinking that we are extremely fortunate. And they become proud. And then to curb their pride, Krishna disappears. So this chapter is speaking about the disappearance of Krishna and how the gopis react to that. So we'll be reading portions of chapter 30 and a little of the pastime and what took place during that time. So when Krishna suddenly disappeared from the company of the gopis, they searched for him everywhere. After not finding him anywhere, they became afraid and almost mad after him. They were simply thinking of the pastimes of Krishna in love and affection. Being absorbed in thoughts of him, they experienced loss of memory, and with dampened eyes, they began to see the pastimes of Krishna, his beautiful talks with them, his embracing, kissing, and other activities. Being so attracted to Krishna, they imitated his dancing, his walking, and his smiling, as if they themselves were Krishna. Due to Krishna's absence, they all became crazy. Each one of them told the others that she was Krishna himself. So they all assembled together and chanted Krishna's name very loudly as they moved from one part of the forest to another, searching for him. So we see that the gopis now, they are desperately searching for Krishna. Actually, Krishna is all-pervasive. He is in the sky, he is in the forest, he is within the heart, he is always everywhere. The gopis therefore began to question the trees, the plants about Krishna. There were various types of big trees and small trees in the forest, and the gopis addressed them. Dear banyan tree, have you seen the son of Maharaj Nanda passing this way, laughing and playing on his flute? He has stolen our hearts and gone away. If you have seen him, kindly inform us which way he has gone. Dear Ashoka tree, dear Naga flower tree, dear Champakalata tree, have you seen the younger brother of Balaram pass this way? He has disappeared because of our pride. They could understand that when they had been enjoying Krishna, they thought themselves to be the most fortunate woman within the universe. And since they were feeling proud, Krishna had disappeared immediately just to curb their pride. Krishna does not like his devotees to be proud of their service to him. He accepts everyone's service, but he does not like one devotee to proudly consider himself better than others. If sometimes there are such feelings, Krishna ends them by changing his attitude towards the devotee. So basically, we will focus a little on this aspect. Now, there are many pastimes in Srimad Bhagavatam where Krishna is teaching the devotees just to curb their pride. And one very famous pastime is Govardhan Leela, where Krishna, he curbs the pride of Indra. Now, in the 10th canto, chapter 27, text 16, Krishna is saying to Indra, after the entire Govardhan Leela had happened, Krishna had lifted Govardhan Leela, Krishna had lifted Govardhan Hill, and he rescued the Brajvasis from all the torrential rain that Indra had poured down. And eventually Indra came and surrendered to Krishna. And Krishna says to him, this is chapter 27, text 16. He says, "My dear Indra, it is out of mercy that I stopped the sacrifice meant for you. You were greatly intoxicated by the opulence as king of heaven, and I wanted you to always remember me." So this is Krishna's mercy onto King Indra. And then another pastime, can you think of anyone? Another pastime? Krishna subduing Kaliya, the serpent Kaliya. He had become very proud and arrogant as well. And Krishna, by dancing on his hoods, had subdued him, and eventually Kaliya had to surrender to Krishna, because with all this dancing and this pounding on his hoods, Kaliya was eventually on the verge of death, right? And in the purport to that pastime, not in the purport, in Krishna book itself, Srila Prabhupada points out, he says that whereas previously Kaliya had been vomiting poison, now with Krishna dancing on his hoods, that poison had been exhausted and he began to vomit blood. Thus he had been cleansed of the vile contamination within his heart that had manifested, and that had manifested as the serpent's vermin. And the word smartava, remembering, is very significant. The wives of Kaliya were actually serious devotees of Krishna, and according to the acharyas, they often tried to convince their husband to surrender to Krishna. Finally, finding himself in unbearable agony, Kaliya remembered his wife's advice, and he took shelter of the Lord. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that Kaliya's arch-rival had traditionally been Garuda, right, the carrier of Vishnu. But now Kaliya realized that he was fighting an opponent. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. So, but now Kaliya realized that he was fighting somebody that was 1,000 times stronger than Garuda. And therefore, this personality could only be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thus, Kaliya took shelter of Krishna. So we see this is the mercy of Krishna on the Kaliya serpent. Right. Another pastime in Srimad Bhagavatam where Krishna vanquishes the pride of a demon is the Keshi demon. Now the Keshi demon is a personification of pride. And when Krishna lifted him, he came in the form of a horse. And Krishna lifted him and threw him 800 miles away. Right. and he came running back. Now, symbolizing that pride is very difficult to overcome. You try to get rid of it, and it immediately is back with you, right? But we have to understand, who are we? What have we got to be proud of? Right? How insignificant are we? If we understand how insignificant we are, we'll understand that there's absolutely nothing to be proud of. Now, if we look at this entire universe, there are millions of planets. And amongst these planets, the Earth is the smallest, right? And on this Earth, there are 7 continents, right? We are on one continent, Africa. And on this one continent, there's one country, South Africa. We are in this one country. One country, there are so many cities. We are in this one city, Durban, right? Then in Durban, there are so many suburbs. We are in this one suburb, Chatsworth. Then in Chatsworth, there are so many different subdivisions. And we are in this one location at Sri Sri Radharanath Temple. So if you zoom in from the universe right down to this one position, how insignificant are we compared to the entire universe? And yet, we think the entire universe revolves around us, don't we? Right. So it's very, very important for us to understand who exactly we are and how insignificant we are. Because together with this pride that we have comes the judgmental attitude and the superiority complex. Now, judgmental attitude and superiority complex, it manifests in Srimad Bhagavatam as the killing of the Vyomasura demon. That comes immediately after Keshi, the killing of Keshi demon, and thereafter there is this pastime of the killing of the Vyomasura demon, who is a judgmental attitude. Now, we have to understand the reason we are doing bhakti, the reason we perform sadhana, we perform all these austerities, is for a higher cause. Right? And the moment we forget this higher cause, we start making mistakes. We start judging and developing a superiority complex. And whenever there is this superiority complex, like here, now the gopis had become proud. In this way, devotees also become proud. We have this superiority complex that I am better than you. I can do something better than you. And this is one of the tricks of Maya to convince us that we are better than others. Now, I'll give you an example. On Friday was the appearance day of Advaita Acharya. Did you fast, Prabhu? Did you fast? Did you fast, Prabhu? Did you fast? Is it any of my business to ask you whether you fasted? No. Your austerity, your fasting is between you and Krishna. It's got nothing to do with me or any other devotee. So the superiority complex that we develop, we ask or we think, okay, it's Ekadasi, that devotee is not fasting. Oh, he must be fallen. I'm performing Nirjal. This is the pride that develops within us. This is this superiority complex that we need to eradicate. And Krishna, He resides within all our hearts. Sarvasa chaham hridaya sanivishto. He resides within all our hearts. So He understands when that pride is there, and He will eradicate it. Or like in Srimad Bhagavatam, where He creates so many pastimes for the devotees, in that way He will arrange or make some arrangement for that pride to be eradicated. Now, I'll give you a pastime that I'm sure many of you are familiar with, or you must have heard it. Is the pastime of Hanuman and the squirrel when the bridge to Lanka was being built. So, at that time, now Hanuman, he was picking up big boulders and mountains and placing it on the bridge. And there was this little squirrel that was rolling in the sand, and he was dusting his little, his body, dusting all these fine sand, also on the bridge. And Hanuman, of course, he was saying, you know, this insignificant squirrel is in the way, right? He could be tramped. And look at what kind of service is he doing. I am picking up big boulders, and here's this little insignificant squirrel in the way, right? And Lord Ram noticed Hanuman's attitude. So he asked Hanuman, why are we building this bridge? And Hanuman said, we want to go across the ocean and kill Ravana. And Ram said, I am dwelling in the heart of Ravana. I could leave his heart at any moment and he will die. Right? So, why are we building this bridge? Then Hanuman said, so that all the Vanars, all the monkeys can cross. And Ram said, if I want, I can dry up the ocean and the monkeys can cross. So then, now Hanuman was bewildered. And then Hanuman asked him, my Lord, why are we building this bridge? And then Ram said, we are building it so that all of you can be engaged in service. And Lord Ram explained to Hanuman that the same reason that you are engaged in service, the squirrel is also engaged in service. And every action is important. The result is not important. So our endeavors are important. Our results depend on Krishna. So where there is a superiority complex, the Lord, He corrects it. So in this pastime here, in Rasalila, we are learning two very important points. Identify your fault and surrender to Krishna. Where there is pride, Krishna sends signals. And these signals are wake-up calls. Wake-up calls to reality of who Krishna is, what is our relationship with Krishna, and how do we revive that relationship. Now here, the gopis are teaching us that. By desperately searching for Krishna, they're teaching us to surrender to Krishna and understand our position and take shelter of Krishna or Krishna's representatives, that is our spiritual masters. So let's continue. The gopis then addressed the Tulasi plants. Dear Tulasi, you are much beloved by Lord Krishna because your leaves are always at his lotus feet. Dear Malati flower, dear Malika flower, dear Jasmine flower, all of you have been touched by Krishna while he was passing this way after giving up transcendental enjoyment. Have you seen Madhava passing this way? O mango trees, O trees of jackfruit, O pear trees, O asana trees, O blackberries, O bale trees, and the trees of the Kadamba flower. You are all very pious to be living on the bank of the Yamuna. Krishna must have passed through this way. Will you kindly let us know which way he has gone? The gopis then looked around the ground they were traversing, and they began to address the earth. Dear earthly planet, we do not know how many penances and austerities you have undergone to be now living with the footprints of Krishna upon you. You are very jolly. The hairs on your body are these jubilant trees and plants. Lord Krishna must have been very pleased with you. Otherwise, how could he have embraced you in the form of Varaha, the boar, when you were submerged in the water? He delivered you while the whole weight, he delivered you taking the whole weight of your existence on his tusks. So here the gopis are describing the pastime of Varahadev. Now, Lord Krishna appeared in the form of a boar, Varaha, and he rescued Mother Earth from the nether planets where she was submerged within the ocean. And it is described in Srimad Bhagavatam that everybody, the gopis, the gopas, the associates of Dwarika, the associates of Mathura, they all had association of Krishna for a certain period of time. Like the gopas, during the day they were cowherding with Krishna. The gopis, at night, they were performing Rasa Leela. Then when Krishna went to Dwarika, he was associating with the Yadus. And then in Mathura, he was associating with all the devotees at Hastinapur. And so, all of them had association with Krishna, but in a certain portion. But Mother Earth, she had continuous association of Krishna wherever he went. Because Krishna always placed his footprints on the earth. So, in that way, Mother Earth was the one that was missing Krishna the most when he left this planet. And here the gopis are asking Mother Earth, have you seen Krishna? After addressing the innumerable trees and plants and the earth, they turned their faces towards the beautiful deer who were looking at them very pleasingly. It appears they addressed the deer that Krishna, who is the supreme Narayan himself, must have passed along this way with his companion Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. Otherwise, how is it possible that the aroma of his garland, which is smeared with red kumkum from the breast of the goddess of fortune, can be perceived in the breeze blowing here? It appears that they must have passed through this and touched your bodies, and thus you are feeling so pleasant and looking towards us with sympathy. So, naturally, now the gopis, they are getting very desperate, asking each and every plant, the earth, now the deer. And then eventually, they come to this point where they start thinking of Krishna while passing through the forest, with one hand resting, here they are asking the trees again, while passing through the forest with one hand resting on his shoulder of the goddess of fortune, the other twirling a lotus flower, he must have been very pleased to accept your obeisances, and he must have glanced at you with great pleasure. Now here they're still talking to the deer. So some of the gopis then addressed their gopi friends. Dear friends, why don't you question the creepers who are so jubilantly embracing the big trees as if the trees were their husbands? It appears that the flowers of the creepers must have been touched by the nails of Krishna. Otherwise, how could they feel so jubilant? After searching for Krishna here and there, the gopis became fatigued, and then they began to talk to themselves like madwomen. They could satisfy themselves only by imitating the different pastimes of Krishna. So now, just to pacify themselves, they started imitating the different pastimes of Krishna. So I'm going to read to you the different pastimes, and let's see if you can identify them, right? The first one is very easy. They could satisfy themselves only by imitating the different pastimes of Krishna. One of them imitated the demon. One of them imitated the demon, and the other imitated Krishna who sucked her breast. Which pastime is that? Putana, right. One Gombi imitated a hand-driven cart, And another gopi lay down beneath the cart and threw up her legs, touching the wheels of the cart. Which pastime is that? Shaktashura, yes. Right. One gopi imitated child Krishna and lay down on the ground. And one gopi became the demon and carried the child Krishna by force into the air. And one of the, which pastime is that? Srinivarta. Hare Krishna. Two gopis imitated Krishna and Balaram, and many others imitated the cowherd boyfriends. One gopi assumed the form of the demon, and another forced her to fall down as the demon did when he was killed. Can you, that one's a little difficult. It's Krishna and Balaram. I'll give you sorry? Donkey demon, no. Bakasura. Right. Just as Krishna used to call his cows by different names, so the gopis imitated him, calling the cows by their different names. One of the gopis began to play the flute, and another praised her the way Krishna's boyfriends praised him while he played the flute. One of the gopis took another gopi on her shoulder, just as Krishna used to take his boyfriends. Absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, the gopi carrying her friend began to boast that she was Krishna herself. All of you see my movement. One of the gopis raised her hand with her covering garments and said, "Now," let's forget that. The first one that I read. Can you identify which pastime that was? The gopis carrying Krishna on his back. Vatsasura. The killing of the calf demon, right? And then the next one, I'm sure you all will identify of that. One of the gopis raised her hand with her covering garments and said, "Now be afraid of the torrents of rain and severe hurricanes. I will save you." Which one is that? Sorry? Govardhan Hill, exactly, Govardhan. That's the pastime of Govardhan Hill. In this way, she imitated the lifting of Govardhan Hill. One gopi forcibly picked her feet on the head of another gopi, and she said, "You rascal, I shall punish you severely. You must leave this place." Which one is that? Mataji's? Kaliya, exactly, Kaliya. So now the gopis they're imitating all these pastimes. And another gopi told her friend, "Just see, the flames of forest fire are coming to devour us. Please close your eyes and I shall immediately save you from this imminent danger." Hare Krishna? The forest demon, yes. In this way, all the gopis were madly feeling the absence of Krishna. They inquired about him from the trees and plants. In some places, they found the imprints of the marks of the soles of the feet, namely the flag, the lotus flower, the trident, the thunderbolt, etc. And after seeing those footprints, they exclaimed, "Oh, here is the impression of the marks of the soles of Krishna's feet." All these marks, such as the flag, the lotus feet, the trident, and the thunderbolt, were distinctively visible. They were able to follow these footprints, and shortly they saw another set of footprints. "Dear friends," they said, "just see, who are these other footprints? They are beside the footprints of the son of Maharaj Nanda. It is certainly Krishna passing through the forest, resting his hand on some other gopi, exactly as an elephant goes side by side with his beloved." We must therefore understand that this particular gopi served Krishna with greater affectionate love than ourselves. Because of this, although he left us, he did not leave her company. He has taken her along with him. Dear friends, just imagine how the dust of this place is transcendently glorious. The dust of the lotus feet of Krishna is worshipped even by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva and the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. But at the same time, we are very sorry that this particular gopi has gone along with Krishna, for she is enjoying the nectar of Krishna's kisses and leave us to lament. Oh dear friends, just see. At this particular spot, we do not see the footprints of this gopi. So we see here that first, the gopis had this pride that they were most fortunate. And now they are seeing that Krishna was with one particular gopi, but they are not jealous, or they don't have this jealousy that, yes, Krishna has left us, but he's taken this other gopi. So they are showing us then that as devotees, we should not be envious of other devotees and envious of their advancement in Krishna consciousness. We should rather help them and assist them in their service. So one of the gopis said, it appears that because they were pinpricks from the dried grass, Krishna took Radharani on his shoulder. Oh, she is so dear to him. Krishna must have picked some flowers on this spot to satisfy Radharani, because here, where he stood erect to get flowers from the high branches of the trees, we find only half the impression of his feet. Dear friends, just see how Krishna must have sat down here with Radharani and tried to set flowers on her hair. You can be certain that both of them sat together. So here we see they are glorifying this devotee now. They're glorifying Radharani because she was most dear to Krishna. And then in this way, the gopis now, they continued looking for Krishna. And eventually, they found Srimati Radharani. I'm not going to read the entire topic, the entire chapter. They found Radharani. And they found her and they understood, and Radharani had also understood that she had become proud, that she was the gopi that Krishna had selected, and there was a certain amount of pride within her as well. So Krishna disappeared from her vision also. And here she was lamenting. And so the gopis, they found her. And then all of them, they began to lament now because Krishna had disappeared from all of their vision. So all the gopis then went further and further into the forest, searching out for Krishna. And when they learned that Krishna had actually left Radharani, they became very sorry. This is the test for Krishna consciousness. This is Srila Prabhupada writing to all of us now. This is a test of Krishna consciousness. In the beginning, they were a little envious that Krishna had taken Radharani alone, leaving aside all the other gopis. But as soon as they knew that Krishna had left Radharani, that she was alone lamenting for him, they began to become more sympathetic towards her. The gopis found Radharani and heard everything from her and how she had misbehaved with Krishna. Well, in this chapter, we haven't read it, but she had asked Krishna to carry her on her shoulder, and then Krishna, he detected that pride and he disappeared. Right. So the gopis found Radharani and heard everything from her, how she had misbehaved with Krishna and how she was proud and insulted for her pride. After hearing this, they became actually very sympathetic. Then all the gopis, including Radharani, proceeded further into the forest until they could no longer see the moonlight. And when they saw that it was getting gradually darker, they stopped. Their mind and intelligence became absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, and they all imitated the activities of Krishna and his speeches. Due to their hearts and soul being completely given to Krishna, they began to chant his glories, completely forgetting their family interests. In this way, all the gopis returned to the bank of Yamuna and assembled there expecting that Krishna would return to them, and they simply engaged in chanting the glories of Sri Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So from this entire pastime, we learn that pride is something that is going to impede our spiritual progress. And the gopis are teaching us that when we have this pride, simply you identify it and you surrender to Krishna in total humility. Lord Chaitanya, as Krishna, is teaching us in the Shikshashtakam, what is our expectation? Right? Tunad api sunichena, taror api sahisnena, amanina manadena, kirtaniya sadahari. So we should chant the holy names of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking ourselves lower than a straw in the street, and one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige. So there shouldn't be this false pride within us, especially the superiority complex that comes with it. And when we identify that, then immediately surrender to Krishna, pray, and pray sincerely that Krishna will remove this anartha from all of us. And so basically, this is the focus of this chapter, chapter 30. And I hope I have been able to enlighten you. And if there are any questions or comments, especially comments, I'm not sure if I can answer any questions, but if there are any comments, please address it now. Hare Krishna. Anybody that wants to add anything? Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, you mentioned that the gopis' pride, there's envy, there's anger, but these all on a spiritual platform. They can be used in Krishna's service.
Yes.
Like anger, like Robert gives example. Like Arjun, Krishna made Arjun angry to fight in the battle for the pleasure of Krishna. And Hanuman got angry, and he burnt the city of Lanka in the foot of anger for the pleasure of Ram. So anger can be used in, and same with envy. Envy, this transcendental envy is there also, but it's not on the gross platform like we experience in the mundane world. Like the gopis, there's right-wing gopis, left-wing, and some are aligned with Krishna and the others would rather run. So there's always a competition is there, but it's a transcendental competition to compete, to serve for the pleasure, holistically for the pleasure of Radha and Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. If there are no other comments, we'll close here. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.